second graders. I'm back with some more poetry for you. But first, let's talk about our creative expressions poem. Have you been practicing? Raise your hand if you practiced in front of the mirror. I'm not seeing any hands. Raise your hand if you practice for your family. How about your pets? Anybody practice for their stuffed animals? Well, whatever way you choose to practice is great because you need to learn your poem and be able to say it without looking. And of course, that's going to take a lot of practicing, right? What are some of the things we've talked about? Let's see, we talked about eye contact. So you want to be sure to look your audience in the eye. Sometimes, I have a little trick for you. Sometimes it's easier to look at foreheads instead of eyes. And they can't really tell when you're up front that you're not looking right at their eyes, but it feels a little more comfortable sometimes to look at their foreheads. So try that next time you're practicing, maybe in front of your family. Just look at their foreheads or, right at the top of their head. But for sure, don't be looking down at the floor or the ceiling or over to the side of the room, right? All right, you need to look towards your audience. And then we talked about adding expression, and that has to do with volume. Sometimes a poem needs a little louder on one line, and then another line might be quieter. You have to think about the words and what they mean and see where the volume might need to change a little bit. Sometimes you need to say things a little higher, especially if you're asking a question in a poem. You're going to end with a higher tone, but then if there's another part that's like secretive or scary, you might get lower with your tone. And then, of course, you know that some words just need to be slowed down because they need to be emphasized, and other words can go pretty quick. All right, so that's adding expression. And now a new one. We're going to talk about relaxing our hands. Usually, when you're practicing right now, you're probably holding your poem in your hands. But once you know your poem, then of course you won't be holding the paper anymore, and your hands should just be relaxed at your side, unless something in your poem needs a gesture. So if there's a question in your poem, you might put your hands up, sort of kind of by your shoulders, like you're wondering, let me see if I can show you. I'm going to just turn the video camera. So you might go like that, right? Does that seem sort of natural? You don't want to make up gestures just to have a gesture. They need to be natural and fit with the poem. All right? Most of the time, you're just going to have your hands relaxed down at your side. So we're going to practice a lot. We're going to use eye contact. We're going to use different expression to make it more interesting to listen to. And we want to make sure that our hands are relaxed and not distracting our audience. Okay? All right, so keep practicing, and we will tell you soon when our Creative Expressions Day is going to be. But right now, we're back to repetition. Read it with me. Repetition. When a word or line repeats over and over. All right, so we had our little poem, Stop, Stop. That pot is hot. Grab a lid, put it on top. There is a lot of pop, 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 hopping popcorn in that pot. So they repeated stop and pop. Well, I have some more poems for you today where there's some repeating. Here we go. I won't hatch. Oh, I am a chickie who lives in an egg, but I will not hatch. I will not hatch. The hens, they all cackle. The roosters all beg, but I will not hatch. I will not hatch. For I hear all the talk of pollution and war as the people all shout and the airplanes roar. So I'm staying in here where it's safe and it's warm. And I will not hatch. Now, what was repeated? I will not hatch, right? And did you notice that I slowed down a little bit on those last words when I said, and I will not hatch? So that was changing the speed, wasn't it? Let's see if I use some good expression on this one. Oh, look at that crazy picture. This is Shel Silverstein again. He has some really crazy, funny poems and drawings. We're going to read this one. If the world was crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd eat? A big slice of soup and a whole quart of meat. A lemonade sandwich, and then I might try some roasted ice cream or a bicycle pie. A nice notebook salad, an underwear roast, an omelet of hats, and some crisp cardboard toast. A thick malted milk made from pencils and daisies, and that's what I'd eat if the world was crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd wear? A chocolate suit and a tie of eclair, some marshmallow earmuffs, some licorice shoes, and I'd read a paper of peppermint news. I'd call the boys Susie, and I'd call the girls Harry. I'd talk through my ears, and I would always carry a paper umbrella for when it grew hazy to keep in the rain if the world was crazy. If the world was crazy, you know what I'd do? I'd walk on the ocean and swim in my shoe. I'd fly through the ground and I'd skip through the air. I'd run down the bathtub and bathe on the stair. When I met somebody, I'd say, "Goodbye, Joe." And when I was leaving, then I'd say, "Hello." And the greatest of men would be silly and lazy, so I would be king if the world was crazy. All right, what phrase was repeated? If the world was crazy. Did you like that poem? It was pretty crazy, I'd say. Let's go to this one. I'll show you the picture while I read the poem. It's called Mary. No one's hanging stockings up. No one's baking pie. No one's looking up to see a new star in the sky. No one's talking brotherhood. No one's giving gifts. And no one loves a Christmas tree on March the 25th. Is that what Christmas tree would look like on March 25th? Probably. Let's read it one more time. And notice what's being repeated. No one's hanging stockings up. No one's baking pie. No one's looking up to see a new star in the sky. No one's talking brotherhood. No one's giving gifts. And no one loves a Christmas tree on March the 25th. I like that poem. And what did it repeat? No one's. Usually it repeats whatever the title is, but this was different, wasn't it? I like it. Well, I hope you've been working on your poem with some repetition in it. I have a new one that I wrote for you, and the way I got the idea was I was sitting at my desk and an airplane flew over really loud. We live sort of near the airport, so they're pretty loud when they go by because they haven't gone up super high yet. So here's how this goes. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Did you hear the plane? I wonder where it's going. Maybe off to Spain. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Did you hear the car? Wherever it's going, it's surely not so far. Zoom, zoom, zoom. So what did I repeat? Zoom, 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 right? Okay, well, you can work for one more day on your poem, and you should be sending a picture of it very soon. Sometime today, I guess. So you had yesterday and today to work on your poem. If you haven't finished, finish that up and send it to your teacher very soon. All right, have a good day, second graders.